guys. So this is today's Vpropel question of the day. The name of this question is ways to place pot of milk on stools. So in this question we have been given n pots of milk and n stools, and we have to place these milk pots or these n stools in such a way that satisfy these few rules. The first rule is the first girl can keep the pot on whichever stool she wants, but after the first girl, every girl has to follow this particular rule that they will keep the pot on a stool which is adjacent to a non-empty stool, which means that if we have three stools, then if we have placed the first milk pot on this second stool, if we have three stool as x, y, and z, and we have placed the first milk pot on this second stool on y, then we can only put the second milk pot on this x, on either on this x stool if it is empty, or on this z stool if it is empty, which completely means that we can only put milk pots only on those stools which are empty and adjacent to a non-empty stool. So the first condition is if we have only one pot and one stool, then there is only one way to put the pot on the stool. If we have two stools and two milk pots, then either we can put the first milk pot on the first stool and then the second milk pot on the second stool, or we can place this first milk pot on the second stool and then the second milk pot on the first stool. Now consider if we have three stools and three milk pots. So consider if we have three stools named as PQR and three milk pots, then first way to put these milk pot is first put the milk pot on P, then on Q, then on R, as these are adjacent. Or the second way, put the milk pot on R, then on Q, then on P. And the third way is to first put the milk pot on Q, then on P. Now the next adjacent stool to this stool P, which is empty, is R. As here we can see that the next, as P and R are the endpoints, they are connected. So the next adjacent stool where we will put the milk pot is R. So the third way is to first put the milk pot on Q, then on P, then on R. And the fourth way is to put the milk pot on Q, then on R, and the next adjacent stool to R, which is empty, is P. So we will be putting the third milk pot on P. So the fourth way is to put the milk pot on Q, then on R, then on P. So here we can see that if there was only one stool, the number of ways was 1. If there was two stools, the number of ways were 2. And if there were three stools, the number of ways to put these milk pots are 4. So now let's consider if we have 4 stools. So first way will be to put the first milk pot on Q, first milk pot on P, then on Q, then on R, and then on S. And the second way is to put the milk pot first on S, then on R, then on Q, then on P. And the third way is to first put the milk pot on P, then to first put the milk pot on Q, then put the second milk pot on P, then move to the end and put the milk pot on S, and the next adjacent stool which is non-empty, which is empty, to put the milk pot is R. So the third way is first put the milk pot on Q, then on P, and then on S, and then on R. Similarly, we can also similarly we can also put the first milk pot on Q, then on R, then on S, and then on P. The fifth way is to first put the milk pot on R, then on S, and then after that, after S, we will put the milk pot on P, and after that, after P, we will put the milk pot on Q. So similarly, in the similar pattern, we can get 8 ways to put these milk pot, to arrange these milk pots on these 4 stools. So if we follow a pattern that if there were only one stool, the number of ways was 1. If there were only two stools, the number of ways were 2. And if there were only three stools, the number of ways were 4. And if we have 4 stools, the number of ways to arrange these milk pots on these 4 stools are 8. So here we can see that if the number of stools are greater than 1, then the number of ways are always multiple of 2. 1 is also a multiple of 2. So let me tell you how. 2 power 0, if we say it like that, 2 power 0, 2 power 0 is the multiple of 2, which is 1. And we can also write 2 as 2 power 1. We can write 4 as 2 power 2, and we can write 8 as 2 power 3. So here we got only one way to put the milk pot on only one stool. If we have two stools, the number of ways were two. If we had three stools, the number of ways were four. So we can write 1 as 2 power 0 as all the stools, as if we have stools greater than 1, then the number of ways to arrange them were always a multiple of 2. So here we can write 1 as 2 power 0, we can write 2 as 2 power 1, we can write 4 as 2 power 2, and we can write 8 as 2 power 3. Also, if here we see that 0, here the number of stools are 1 and the power of 2 is 0, which is 1 minus 1 0. Here the number of stools were 2 and the power of 2 is 1. Here the number of stools are 3 and the power of 2 which we have got here is 2, which indicates that the power of 2 is always going to be n minus 1. N the number of stools, then the power of 2 is going to be n minus 1. So basically it's complete a pattern question. If you go to if you try to to pick out the particular logic, and then it's going to be hell of work. If you find a particular logic and build a code over that, it's going to be hell of work. But if we follow a particular pattern, that if the number of stools are greater than 1, then the number of ways to arrange these milk pots is always a multiple of 2. So here the number of stools were 4 and the number of ways are 8. So the power of 2 is 3, which is equal to 4 minus 1. So here we can say that number of ways to arrange an n milk pots or n stools is equal to 2 power n, that is number of stools, minus 1. So now let's check our code actually works or not. So here we have to first take integer input the number of stools. After then we are going to subtract minus 1 from that. We are going to subtract minus 1 from that, and after subtracting minus 1 from that, we are putting it to the power of 2. So let's check our code is correct or not. So, yeah, here it has been shown that successful code has passed all test cases, which says that our code is completely correct. So the first three people who shared their code with us are also the first three people who solved the code firstly, who solved the question first. They are Pranav, Balaji, Muralidharan V, and Advait Tiyajit. Congratulations, guys, as you are also the first three people who solved this question and shared the code with us. And also, I want to thank CS Aditya, L Aditya Raj, Jay Patel, Muralidharan V, and Aditya Rai, who successfully passed all test cases and shared their code with us before 10:30 p.m. But these three people have become the prominent faces for us at CodeAge VIT. I want to encourage all of you guys to come perfectly at 8 p.m. and solve this Vpropel question and share the code with us, so that we can see that there are much more coders than these three people who can give a tough fight to these three competitors. So that was all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day, and try to solve the question before 10:30 p.m. and share the code with us at our WhatsApp group. Thank you. Have a nice day.